Well, the time has finally come to start my long-term slow stitch project that I've been talking about for a few weeks now. Happy 2025 and welcome to my new project for a new year. And let's start out by getting a bit uncomfortable. I did say that this was a possibility and we may as well get it out of the way. Sierra says, go away. I like being comfortable. So I'm going to start out with this permanent marker. That's right, it's not water soluble, it's not erasable, it is permanent. And I'm holding it really loosely here and I'm just drawing a really sketchy random line, adding little bits here and there, not really worried about too much about what it looks like. And that's how I'm starting my project. Now, let's get a little bit lost, shall we? You didn't think we were lost already? So I've threaded up some dark blue thread on my needle. I don't know, 2 strands, 3 strands, I don't know, use what you like. I've tied a knot on the back and I've just stuck my needle in somewhere and I've started stitching, doing the running stitch. And I'm not going to give a tutorial on how to do the running stitch. I already made a video showing how to do that. If you want a refresher, go back and have a look at this video. And I just started stitching, heading off in one direction, not in a straight line, kind of a meandering line. And now I'm heading back. I could veer off in any direction that I like if I want, but I've chosen to follow along beside the line that I've already created and head back to the same spot. I was a little bit intentional when I chose the color of this thread. I will be making a slightly extended version of this video for my Ko-fi supporters. My Ko-fi subscribers get early access to my videos, and there'll also be a few bonuses there for them every month. So if you'd like to know more about my inspiration, I would encourage you to head over to my Ko-fi channel if you'd like to sign up over there. There is a small subscription fee and you'll get early access to my videos as well as a little bit of extra content that gives a little bit more perspective on what I'm doing. I'd love to have you join us over there. And as you can see, I'm just going back and forth, sometimes following the line that I've already stitched, sometimes veering away from it, whatever I feel like in the moment. And I've noticed that I've been really enjoying creating lines that relate to each other, but that's not necessary at all. And now I notice that some of my stitches are starting to stack up row after row, so I'm going to lean into that and see if I can make this next row of stitches also line up until I don't feel like doing that anymore, and then I'll do something else. And you may not want to do that, and that's entirely up to you. I'd really like you to think about how you can make this your own personal project. You don't necessarily need to do the same thing that I'm doing. And that's how my stitching looks now. It doesn't really look like much of anything, but I'll keep reminding you throughout this project that this piece here started out not looking like too much of anything, and this is how it looks now. I think it's rather beautiful. It's really important to try not to judge your pieces too early and just let them unfold and see where they end up. And it'll be beautiful if you believe it's beautiful. So what is the Saori thing anyway, and what does it have to do with slow stitching? Let me tell you. Saori is a weaving philosophy that emphasizes freedom of expression, spontaneity, and individuality. It's not an ancient tradition, it's something that was devised in the mid part of the last century. And about 10 years ago, when I first started doing weekly art projects, I made this little book. That was also the year that I took my first Saori weaving workshop. And I made this piece here that turned into this vest. I used every single piece of that weaving to make this vest. And in my little book, I wrote down some of the things about the Saori philosophy that really spoke to me, like this one: be bold and adventurous. Explore your own creativity. Consider the difference between humans and machines. Everything is meaningful, and the uniqueness of each thread creates the tapestry of life. Let's look out through eyes that shine. Everything has its own individual dignity. There's beauty in the lack of intention. The word saori in Japanese, the sa means everything has its own place, and the ori means weaving. All flowers are beautiful, even though each individual flower is different in form and color. And imperfect, I might add. Saori is for everyone. Inspire one another and everyone in the group. Create your own self-innovation and then pass it along to others. Saori weaving really celebrates the lumps and the bumps and the imperfections that are really part of all of us. And it looks very different than what most of us think about weaving as being very regular and organized and planned. In Saori weaving, you don't start out to make a particular object or thing. You just weave, and you can stop weaving at any time as well. And at some point after you finish weaving a piece, it will tell you what it wants to become. And this piece that I'm working on now still hasn't become anything. So that is the spirit of Saori. And that's the spirit I would like to take this project in. And this is an example of me weaving on a rigid heddle loom in essentially a Saori way. But now let's go back to our slow stitching and see if we can take some of that Saori spirit with us. So I've got this big rat's nest of yarn here, and I'm pulling out some light blue yarn in keeping with my river theme that I talked to my Ko-fi supporters about. And I'm going to stitch with this. I don't even know what this yarn is. It's kind of a synthetic, maybe a thin knitting yarn or something, or a piece of string. I don't know. It's interesting. And it's doing sort of funny things. In hindsight, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, all those little loose bits that appeared that I struggled to take out, maybe I should have left them in the very Saori way and had little loops in my piece. But that's not what I felt like doing at the time, so I took them out. And I did discover something. When I was trying to take them out, I gathered up my thread, and that gave me an idea for something else that I can do with this running stitch. Probably not in this video, it's going to be in another video, but let's carry on. And I'm doing the same thing that I did with the dark blue thread. I'm just stitching along as I feel like it, and when I pulled the needle out of the thread, I decided it was time to stop and do something else. And now I'm going to do something called raw edge applique. I have this little piece of cloth that was cut out, and the shape of it is really kind of feeling to me like it fits in with the other shapes that are emerging in my piece, so I thought I would sew it down using running stitch. I want to mention you can take this project and work with it in whatever way feels right to you. If you don't have a lot of time, you could treat this one video as a whole month's worth of content. There will be more videos this month, and they're all going to be about the running stitch. And you might notice in some of the heading titles, I've numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you could take one of those sections each week and just do those stitching. So first start out drawing on your piece with a marker, and then add some running stitches in one thread for week 2, choose a different thread for week 3, in week 4, sew on a little piece of cloth, and let's see what comes up in week 5, shall we? And I'm just going to finish this off. You could certainly add more stitches if you wanted to, but I'm going to leave it here for now. And here's part 5, where we go back to being uncomfortable again. So I've pulled out some rubbing alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to drip it on that line that I drew. And surprise, surprise, nothing happens, so I'll try spraying it. There's still nothing happening. That wasn't what I expected, so I'm changing my plans. I've pulled out a water-soluble marker, and I've drawn a line with that. Now I've got a spray bottle that has some water in it. That's better. That's what I was looking for. Can you see how that line is starting to spread and move? That's what I was expecting to happen with the rubbing alcohol on the Sharpie on the permanent marker. But it didn't happen, so that's okay. But let me see if I can add more. Well, that's just making the line lighter. That's not really what I wanted, so I'm adding some more Sharpie marks, and let's see what happens there. It's not really going the way that I thought, but that's okay. And in the end, it actually turned out better than I expected. Once everything dried, you can see that the brown Sharpie has created these little pinkish shadow marks. So I'm going to do a little bit more, I think. I've got my little container here and with an acorn in it. Don't know why. I've got this really juicy Sharpie marker that creates a really thick line, so let's add that on, and the color is working with my color scheme. And let's try some more with the rubbing alcohol. Okay, there it is. Now that mark is starting to show up, and the color's starting to bleed and spread. But I'm going to give you some provisos here. Certainly if you use water-soluble markers, you won't be able to wash this. It will wash the color out. And Sharpies, although they claim to be permanent, aren't truly permanent. The color does fade with time. And hey, why not? I'm adding some more of the water soluble in the pink. It's just what I feel like doing. It's really working nicely with the colors, I think. Another tip. If you're going to do this, you might want to make sure you have something to protect your table underneath. So that's where I'm going to leave this video. And I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.